So while we're waiting for some people to log on, if you have an iPad or an iPhone and you want to grab it, you need the charger to connect to your computer. I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. But today for Spark sessions, we earlier did Pear Deck, and this session is going to show you how to use QuickTime. So in QuickTime, I'll show you how to do some screen recordings and some cool things, which will be fun to do. So on this screen, you can easily go to this bit.ly/ it is case sensitive, KT Spark. You have to use the capital KT 323 to get all of our lessons and quick things that we're doing throughout the week, and we're going to be doing some next week. If you have your phone or iPad as well, you can open up the camera button and scan that little QR code, and it should open up on that as well. So hopefully you can easily get to that, and we'll be sharing that through all of our medias, email and social media and everything throughout this week and next week, so you always have access. Okay? All right, so before I get going, just to introduce you to Knowing Technologies. This is our innovation team. So all of our coaches from California that we teach in North and South, working with teachers. We've been in education for a number of years now with many different content and subjects. So it's a great team to work with, and you can definitely reach out at any time to us if you need specific coaching, of course, besides using QuickTime. So today you'll see the different Spark sessions, and you can easily click on any of these to join in. So these should switch, Mondays should switch, and as well as Tuesdays, to the actual live video link. If not, it might jump to the slide deck where the live video link will be. And later on today, if you want to check out what Quiz is, this cool assessment tool, it's kind of like Kahoot, but has some really neat features. That's going to be later on at 3. So just to give you an idea of what's happening, and definitely check back. We're going to be adding tons of things next week as well, and all of these will be live resources, and we put it on the website. So in Zoom, if you have questions or if you have other ideas of how you use QuickTime, for example, or just screen sharing in general, feel free to pop those in the chat just to give some people some ideas of what you do in a normal day basis. So again, I'm Krystal Hall. I'm just giving you a small bite of information of how we're using QuickTime in all of our different schools, which is really fun. Again, this will be recorded, and I also have a little recorded session on my QuickTime slide deck of how actually I just trained some teachers of what we did and how I showed them right from the beginning, like I'm going to show you. But if, of course, you have more questions, go ahead and email the info@knowingtechnologies.com, and we can definitely answer some more of your questions as we go, because we're all in this together. You know, it's crazy times. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over to my QuickTime slide, which is right here. This is the little video recording that I did prior, which you can share with anyone. Feel free to if they're getting stuck. This is the QuickTime resource guide, so there might be some more features that you might find that are like, hey, these could be pretty cool that I can use. And then later on, I'm going to show you also how to pop into your iPad or iPhone and do some screen sharing, which is really handy. And then later on, once the session is done being recorded, I'm going to link it right here so you can easily get to it. Pause me because I might be talking too fast. And feel free to just watch it as you go, which is pretty easy. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this window right here, and I'm going to go up into my search bar. So on your Mac, if you look in the top right, this is how I usually do it, is I go to the little magnifying glass. It's kind of by the time on my screen. And so if I hit the magnifying glass, it was called Spotlight Search, which means it can search my whole entire Mac for anything that I'm looking for, documents or software or whatever that may be. So I'm just going to type in QuickTime. So you're going to do the same thing if you're playing around. And then once it pops up, you just hit return, and it doesn't look like it really opens anything, which everybody always freaks out like, what did it do? But if you notice right at the bottom, of the screen, I have this little cue. It's way at the bottom. So it's open. There's a little dot underneath it. So it shows that it's actually open and functioning, which is pretty handy. And then at the top of my screen, it no longer says Chrome, way in the top left by the little Apple icon. It does say QuickTime. So I have all these QuickTime menus as I go through, which is really handy. So I'm going to show you a couple different ones when you're in QuickTime. So the first session that you want to go to, like that little menu, is called File. And the top three are super handy to use. So I usually use screen recordings, which will record my voice with what I'm showing on my screen, and then I can send it out to my students or whoever I'm training on how to do things. Audio is like if I want to record my voice only, not my face, not my screen, just my voice. So maybe if you're reading a book to your students or whatever it may be, it's nice to hear your voice. And then of course, movie recording is just my face. If I want to send a recording out that way. And we're also going to use that with the iPad or iPhone if you're connected in. So first off, if I hit screen recording, I'm going to play with this bottom one first. So new screen recording. Here we go. So some people, if you have the updated QuickTime, you might just have like a little black square with a red dot in the middle, and that's been a popular one, which is totally fine. And I think I actually have that on my screen in here. So I think I recorded it that way with the little red dot. So the important thing is you hit record on that red dot and you hit stop up here with this little white dot. It shows up as soon as you hit the record button and you'll get this little screen. Also, if you have the newer version, so I'm going to hit File, New Screen Recording. If you have the newer version, you get this kind of like funky gray box down at the bottom. The most important thing though, when you're doing a screen recording is making sure that your microphone is on, because I've done it so many times where I'm recording myself and I realize there's no audio, which is super annoying. So next to the record button, if you have the not updated one, it's like a little black square with a red circle. When you hit it, there's a little tiny white arrow to the right of it. If you click that, it should give you the options, just like I have options right here, for what the microphone is. And so I usually make sure that the microphone is for my MacBook, or if it's for my earphones, if they have a microphone in it. So you get to choose your microphone. And then you'll see some other features later. But make sure your microphone is on, either through this options with this little arrow, or if you see a little arrow by your red circle, make sure you click it. Look at the microphone menu. It's kind of small. It says microphone, and make sure your MacBook is selected. That's really important when you're going through. Okay, so I'm going to check it. It's checked off. We're good to go. This one's really handy, the newer feature, if you update yours or if your school has to push out that update. It's nice because you can choose the entire screen, which is what I usually do, so I can just kind of click around and be free. Sometimes people want like a very specific window that's recorded. Like I have this one tab in Chrome that I want to have open as I'm going through. Totally up to you. But of course, you just click the button that you want and you just hit record, and it's recording everything that I do. Again, when you're ready to stop, you have a little circle at the very top of your screen. It should be the left of your bar from the time and your Wi-Fi and what have you. You just hit stop. And then you should get a window that looks similar to whatever I'm showing. So you can kind of see, oh, there's my lovely face looking crazy, and then everyone else's, which is beautiful. And then you can see I can easily rewind. I can play and just check it out, so I can actually hear myself talking when I hit play in here. But I have my headphones on, so that's why you can't hear it. So I can scroll through and I can manipulate and just make sure that it sounds okay as I'm opening different things up. So just to review, I went to File, and then I went to Screen Recording. As soon as I hit record, that lets me just open up things. I can talk about things. I can open another tab up if I want to, and you can just talk about your presentation, or maybe you open up an online book. Another really cool feature I'm going to show you is opening up Jamboard. If you wanted to have a Jamboard, which is kind of like this digital online file, like a Google Doc where you can see kids typing, but this one lets you draw too, which is really cool. So I love Jamboard. When you're done recording, you hit stop. And then there's my awesome recording. So this is the one that I can, oh, there's even a better face for you guys. So I can see everything that I did as I went through that recording. So a lot of people ask me, well, what if there was a lot of dead air or dead space, like at the beginning or end? Can I trim that? Well, definitely. So up here, you do have some edit features. So you can easily just hit the trim under edit, and it should bring up a menu where you can just kind of like pull it in. And I'm like, I wanted to start right here when I was talking about Jamboard, not all that other stuff. And I wanted to end when I was talking about it rather than like showing my screen at the end. So you can definitely trim it, totally up to you. And as soon as I hit return, then it'll trim to that one section, which is handy. I'm not gonna hit return right now or hit trim because I wanna show you another feature. So I'm gonna hit cancel. Same thing under the edit button. There's a really cool feature, which I just recently learned because I thought this was pretty amazing, was split clip. So new little feature, if I was like, oh, I wish I could crop it right here in the middle, for example, I can double click in the middle and it should split it. Let's see, right here. So I can have two different trim sections. So I can trim like one side and then the other side, or crop out something in the middle, which is so handy to have because like maybe the dog's barking in the background or whatever, you know. So I can hit trim, pop that out, and then I could crop any section that I wanted. Super handy. All right, so those are some edit features that we typically play with. I don't really use the clip alignment, but you might. Other than that, I liked the view audio track because the audio track, it pops up and I can actually listen to myself, and I can trim that section too if I kept saying like my ums or whatever that may be. So you can switch over to the audio track, which is in there. Really handy to have. And then once you're done, you just save it. So let me hit done because it said that I was on my audio track still. There we go. So now it just has the play button. And so now I go up to file and I'm just gonna save it. So this one, it's not showing me save for some reason. So I'm just gonna I can hit export too. So I did a nice screen recording. Usually I use 1080 because that's like a nice screen view. So I'm gonna hit save it as. And then I usually save it on my desktop so it's easy for me to find. So I'm gonna call this like test recording just so I can practice and play. And then once I hit save, it's gonna save over there on my desktop. So you can see it popping up over here. It's exporting. Really quick way to save things. Typically after that, I just pop it into Google Drive and share it. If you're fancy and you have a YouTube channel, then you can definitely pop it onto your YouTube channel. But some people are like, well, how do I do that? So if I had my Google Drive open, so I'm just gonna go Google Drive. Here we go. All I have to do, I can either, if you're using Chrome is usually the easiest thing in the world to just drag and drop things over into Google Drive. So you can see that I'm hovering over this space and it's gonna let me drop into whatever file. So I'm gonna click on my drive so I can plop it in there. And I just go bloop and I drop it. And now it's just uploading. Super easy. If you're not very good at the drag and drop, which a lot of people are like, that's tricky for me with this trackpad, totally fine. You just hit new, and then I just do a file upload, and then I can go and choose. So like, here's my desktop where I saved it, and I can choose that test recording and hit open, and it'll just upload as well. So Google will tell you when it's done. It has that little green check mark over here. So I'm gonna click on where it's at, this little file location. So it takes me right to it, which is really handy. So take me there. And then here's my test recording. I have lots of test recordings. I've been playing a lot lately. And then when you're ready to share it, you're just gonna hit the little share button and you choose, do you wanna email it to someone or do you wanna get that shareable link and just pop it in an email? Keep in mind though, like if you're in a school domain, it might say your school, like if it's Claiborne or Mayfield, it'll say it right here. That means they have to log in with that email, like a Mayfield email, for example, to even get access to the document or to the recording. So if you have parents logging in for the little ones, I usually try to make it public. So it's just really easy access and you're not getting a whole bunch of emails like, I can't get into the file, you know? So I come down here to the advanced and then there's this little change button where I can make it public. Hit save And it's the same URL that I copy and paste up here. So I would just copy this and plop it in an email. So if you already sent out a file and people are requesting access, you don't have to go in and send them a new URL. It's always that same copy and paste. You just have to hit change. And as soon as you change it to public, they'll have immediate access. Super easy. So keep that in mind if you're using Google Drive and publishing your information. Okay, so I promised you that I was going to show you some other cool features with QuickTime. So let me close out of this one because we don't need it. I'm going to open QuickTime back up. And I'll show you movie recording. So movie recording is just my face, just like on Zoom. And look, see, here's that little red button. So it didn't show the screen recording last time. So I had that like new bar at the bottom that I was showing you guys. So here's that red button I was talking about. And then next to it, that little white arrow is making sure that I have the microphone on. So I have the microphone on the MacBook on. You can see that it's moving over here, so I know I'm good. And then I can just hit record and I can just start talking. I can read my book to my class, like, hey guys, this is what we're doing today. Show them experiments, lots of great things you can do, okay? But even on top of that is I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna close out the movie recording right now because I know you can still see my face. I have my charger for my iPad. So here's my big old iPad. I plugged it in and I have a USB for that I can either plug in. If you have an older Mac, you're able to just plug it right in the side, but I have one of the newer ones, so I have to use this dongle and I plug it in. So I'm gonna plug that into my Mac, just like you're displaying in your classroom if you're used to that. And if it's your first time doing this, it might say on your iPad, trust. You have to click the trust button. And sometimes I have to unplug and plug it back in so that it learns to trust my iPad. It's a safe hardware to use. And check this out. So I'm gonna go back to the file movie recording. And then once it decides to open, it's going nice and slow. Oh, there we go. You can see that my iPad, this is my iPad screen. So you can see, this is my iPad screen. You're seeing the same thing. I don't have to, I love how people are always like, do you see what what I see? That's really hard. That's tricky. So to get that screen, mine's automatically doing it because I do it a lot, is that same little arrow next to the record button. So I can switch it and you can see my face, that's the FaceTime where you just saw me, but I can also switch it to my iPad so you can see my iPad. And now I can talk the class through. I didn't even hit record right here, but I can if I want to. But now I can take my kids through anything that I want to show them on the iPad. So if I have like the Rivet app and I want to read them a book, I can just start reading to them, which is really nice. If I wanted to open up a Jamboard, for example, that was that website that I was just showing you, I can have it open here, or I can have the web version and share my screen. Either way works, but there's just more features on the app or the phone. So if I wanted to start manipulating and showing them a math problem or something in science, this is so handy. It's just a free whiteboard, totally free. You just download the Jamboard app. And there's my pens. You can see my pens are popping up. These are assistive drawing tools, which lets me draw shapes super easy. So for example, if I want to draw a square, it's going to automate because I am not the best artist, as you can see. So it just made that awesome square for me. My favorite one is that little pen with a little sparkle beside it. I call it the magic pen, because when I was teaching French for a number of years, I would start describing things and the kids, I mean, this isn't a bad Christmas tree because I did a pretty good tree, but it should say, well, what are you trying to draw down at the bottom? And I'm like, yes, that tree. And so I give them that. I'm able to easily do a Pictionary too, or if I wanted to describe what we're doing, so it makes it a little bit easier. So I can kind of draw and go through. There's pages at the top, so I can have a new page. I can add files or sticky notes, kind of like a Padlet. But I can add all these different fun features that our students are using. So maybe I'm talking about the days of the week, for example. So this made a super, oh, I need to switch back to pen so I can actually grab these things. All right. So it gave me this tiny little file, but I can actually use, it's best to use 2 fingers if you're playing with Jamboard to stretch it and make it bigger, just like you're using on your trackpad. So you have some really cool features in here, and you can add other files and things like that. So love that, very basic. If you want some really cool advanced features, I love explaining everything. And I heard that they're doing some free promotional things right now that you can get a free app, but they have like tons and tons of free things. Like you can totally import your whole entire presentation and record yourself and doodle on it if you want to. And they also have different backgrounds here as well in the bottom corner. So I can make myself a little pattern grid if we were going to do like an XY chart for math. So you have lots of really cool features right within here, and it also just records in there. But you can see how you're seeing everything that I am like on my iPad. It's really handy. My art teachers usually love the app Sketches because they have all these really nice art tools and rulers and what have. And then of course paper. So you have some nice features that you can totally show on your iPad as you go. If I swipe, you should be able to see me swipe. And then same, if I just opened up my Kindle app, you should be able to check out, this was my daughter's science project we were doing today, but you can see me talking about this as we go through it, just like I would do on a Kindle app. So a lot of nice things that we're kind of like popping through right here and just sharing our screen just to make it a little bit easier for you guys. So you have the basics of QuickTime. You can record from it and pre-record if you want to, or if you're going live like I am. Let me pop you guys back in so I can actually see you. There we go. Okay, so you can definitely just screen share and do like a live demo, or if you wanted to record yourself in different ways. So you have the audio, you have the video, and you also have that nice screen share.